You've been told compounding is the secret to wealth, the eighth wonder of the world. But here's the hard truth. For most people, compounding doesn't work. In fact, it traps them. They save small amounts, wait for years, and then wonder why their balance hardly grows. The trap isn't compounding itself, it's how people use it. And if you don't escape, you'll spend decades stuck in financial quicksand. Today, I'm going to reveal the compounding trap that keeps millions poor. And more importantly, how to break free with the same strategies the wealthy have used for generations. And if you want proven tools and strategies for building wealth smarter, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a lesson like this one. Let me give you a real example. Mark started saving $200 a month at age 25. By 40, after 15 years, he had just under $60,000. His friend Sarah also invested $200 a month, but she applied compounding the right way. By 40, she had more than $120,000, double Mark's amount. Same amount of money, same time frame, two completely different results. Why? Because Sarah avoided the compounding trap. She scaled her inputs, chose assets that beat inflation, and stayed consistent long enough to let the curve bend upward. That's the difference between thinking compounding is magic and treating it like physics. But Mark's mistake wasn't bad luck. It was math. And it's the same mistake millions make every day. They underestimate just how small their contributions really are. Let's call this the illusion of small numbers. Most people begin their compounding journey with good intentions. They hear financial gurus say, just start small. Even $50 a month adds up. So, they dutifully transfer that money and wait. But here's the trap. Small numbers don't scale fast enough to show results, at least not in the first decade. Imagine planting a single seed and expecting a forest. You'll be waiting a long time. The same is true with compounding. $100 a month at 6% returns turns into about $16,000 after 10 years. Respectable, but hardly life-changing. And it's precisely at this point that most people quit, thinking compounding doesn't work. Benjamin Graham, in The Intelligent Investor, would call this a failure to understand the arithmetic of investment. He emphasized that investors must set realistic expectations. Compounding isn't broken. The inputs are too small. Graham warned against what he called the delusion of quick results. When investors expect magic from minimal contributions, they get disappointed and give up before the curve even bends upward. The wealthy understand this. They feed compounding with larger amounts earlier, accelerating the curve. That's why someone who invests $500 a month instead of $100 doesn't just end up 5 times richer. They often end up 10 times richer because the early momentum compounds on itself. The illusion of small numbers is one of the most dangerous traps in personal finance. It convinces people that compounding doesn't work, when the truth is they've simply underfunded the engine. To escape, you have to fuel it properly from the beginning. So even if you do contribute, there's another trap waiting for you: time. Compounding doesn't reveal its power instantly. It hides it. And that's why most people give up too early. This is the delay effect. Compounding is often described as the eighth wonder of the world. But here's the part no one tells you. Wonders take time. In the first 5 to 10 years, the growth is barely noticeable. Take $10,000 invested at 8%. After 5 years, it grows to just $14,693. Most people see that and think, this isn't working. But give it 30 years, and the same $10,000 explodes to $100,627. That's the delay effect. Compounding hides its power until the later stages. Benjamin Graham explained this through the lens of investor psychology. In The Intelligent Investor, he warned that the market plays tricks on the impatient. Prices fluctuate, growth feels slow, and many sell out just before the curve accelerates. Graham famously introduced the character Mr. Market, a moody business partner who shows up every day with a different price. If you're swayed by his mood swings, you'll never let compounding run its full course. The trap here is emotional. People underestimate how long-term really is. They expect to see life-changing results in 5 years, when the real magic happens in the second or third decade. It's like watching paint dry and quitting before the wall is finished. The wealthy avoid this trap by staying in the game long enough to let the math work. They ignore Mr. Market's mood swings, reinvest dividends, and wait for the exponential curve to reveal itself. The delay effect isn't a flaw in compounding. It's the very feature that makes it powerful. Those who endure the flat years are rewarded with decades of explosive growth. Even if you're patient enough to stick around, there's a silent enemy working against you. You can't see it on your bank statement, but you feel it every time you buy groceries. That enemy is inflation. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Compounding doesn't always make you wealthier. Sometimes it makes you think you're wealthier while you're actually falling behind. The reason is inflation. If your money grows at 2% in a savings account while inflation runs at 4%, your wealth is shrinking in real terms. Your balance looks bigger, but your purchasing power is smaller. That's why many people fall into what I call the inflation trap. They believe compounding is working, but it's really an illusion. Benjamin Graham dedicated a full chapter in The Intelligent Investor to this very issue, the investor and inflation. He argued that ignoring inflation is one of the most dangerous mistakes an investor can make. Graham stressed that true compounding only happens when your investments outpace the rising cost of living. Otherwise, you're running up a down escalator. Let's put numbers on it. Suppose you save $10,000 in a bank account, compounding at 2%. In 10 years, you'll have about $12,200. But if inflation averaged 3% a year, your money's purchasing power drops to the equivalent of about $9,000 in today's dollars. You earned money, but you actually lost. This is why the wealthy avoid parking cash in low-yield accounts. Instead, they choose vehicles like index funds, equities, or real estate. Assets that historically grow faster than inflation. And they build what Graham called a margin of safety. That means structuring your investments so that even when inflation bites or markets wobble, your compounding curve still rises. The lesson is simple. Compounding only works if you beat inflation. Otherwise, you're not compounding wealth. You're compounding loss. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far and want more topics like this, comment the word "more" down below. All right, let's keep the momentum going. So how do the wealthy beat this silent thief? They don't just sit back and wait. They actively fuel their compounding engine. While most people drip money in, the rich pour it in. That's how they scale the input. Here's another trap. Thinking compounding alone will make you wealthy. The truth is, compounding only multiplies what you put in. If you start small and never increase your contributions, your results will always be small. The wealthy understand this intuitively. They don't wait for compounding to rescue them. They fuel it aggressively from the start. They inject large contributions early, so that the math works in their favor decades down the road. Benjamin Graham called this rational arithmetic. He emphasized that investing is not magic. It's math. If you put in little, you get little. If you put in more consistently, you trigger exponential results. Let's compare two investors. Anna invests $200 a month starting at 25. By 65, she has about $600,000. Brian invests $800 a month starting at the same age. By 65, he has over $2.4 million. Brian didn't just save 4 times more, he ended up with 4 times the compounding engine, and that's before factoring in reinvested dividends or pay raises. The trap most fall into is staying at the beginner level forever. They start with $100 a month, never scale up, and assume compounding will somehow make them wealthy. It won't. The escape is simple but not easy. Increase contributions as your income grows. The rich think of compounding as a machine. The more fuel you pour in, the faster it spins. Graham's wisdom reminds us, the investor's chief problem, and even his worst enemy, is likely to be himself. If you fail to scale your input, you sabotage your own curve. But here's the good news. You don't need to be wealthy to copy this approach. There's a formula anyone can follow to escape the compounding trap. Bigger contributions, smarter vehicles, and patience. Let me break it down. If compounding has traps, how do you escape them? The answer is what I call the escape formula. Increase input, invest in the right vehicles, and stay consistent long enough to ride the exponential curve. Step 1 is contribution. You can't build wealth on scraps. You have to make compounding worth your time by scaling what you put in. Step 2 is choosing assets that truly compound. Cash doesn't. Graham warned in The Intelligent Investor that speculation is the quickest way to destroy compounding. Instead, he favored stocks with intrinsic value, index funds, and bonds that balance safety with growth. These are vehicles that keep your compounding engine running. Step 3 is time. The trap is quitting early because you don't see fireworks in the first few years. The formula only works if you give it decades. Graham's Mr. Market may tempt you to sell when things look slow or scary, but patience is your weapon. And here's where tools help. The Trip 2 Wealth Command Center lets you plug in your numbers and see your compounding future laid out clearly. You'll know when the curve starts bending upward, and you'll understand exactly what scaling your input does to your future wealth. The escape formula is simple. Bigger contributions, smarter vehicles, consistent time. Anyone can follow it, but most don't, because it requires discipline in the face of boredom and volatility. Compounding is not luck. It's not magic. It's predictable math, if you play the formula correctly. You'll find the early access waitlist of the tool linked below. Get in early, support the launch, and lock in your exclusive discount. All right, now you see the full picture, the traps, the illusions, and the escape. Let's bring all of this together into one clear lesson. The compounding trap isn't that compounding fails. It's that people misunderstand how it works. First, they fall for the illusion of small numbers, expecting tiny contributions to generate massive wealth. Second, they get caught in the delay effect. Quitting before compounding reveals its exponential power. Third, they ignore inflation, letting their so-called gains evaporate in real terms. And fourth, they fail to scale their inputs, treating compounding like a lottery ticket instead of a machine that demands fuel. Benjamin Graham's The Intelligent Investor warned of all these traps decades ago. He taught that wealth comes from patience, discipline, and rational arithmetic, not from speculation or shortcuts. His lessons on inflation, the margin of safety, and the psychology of Mr. Market are just as relevant today as they were in 1949. The wealthy escape these traps by following what I've called the escape formula: bigger contributions, smarter vehicles, and the discipline to let time do its work. They don't wait for compounding to rescue them. They feed it early, stay invested through the flat years, and protect their returns with assets that outpace inflation. And here's the final takeaway. Compounding isn't magic. It's physics. It doesn't care about your feelings, your effort, or your hopes. It only cares about math. Feed it too little, and it disappoints. Feed it enough in the right vehicles, with enough time, and it transforms your financial life. So don't fall into the compounding trap. Escape it, and use the formula that every wealthy investor, from Graham to Buffett, has followed for over a century. And there you have it. The compounding trap that keeps so many people poor, and the formula to finally escape it. If you found this eye-opening, the next video will connect directly to what we've discussed today. We'll dive into the millionaire math that accelerates wealth once you escape the trap, and it's a formula you can start using immediately. So don't miss it. And if you found value today, I highly recommend watching my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Remember, this video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice. It is important to conduct thorough research and consult with financial professionals before making any investment decisions. The value of investments can fluctuate, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Always assess your risk tolerance and investment goals before allocating your capital. Thanks for your support. Until next time, stay consistent, stay patient, and stay winning. See you in the next one, Money Magician.